Sean, I don't know. Did we misplace Brad? Do we know where he is?
I can tell you exactly where he is. He's somewhere in the basement of Wembley.
Oh, this is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League and this week, the Carabao Cup. This week it's only two friends because Brad is still in the dungeons, and we will be breaking down all the action from match week 26. We will be talking first about this League Cup final between Liverpool and Chelsea, and if you if you don't already know what happened, I would imagine that you have been able to pick up some context clues. But my name is James. I support Arsenal. That is Sean over there. He's on the top row tonight, the only row tonight. He supports Tottenham, who also had a very good weekend. We will
We did.
we'll get into that here in a minute. But before we dive too far into this podcast, if you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell, drop a comment on this video. If you're on one of the podcast sites, hit it with a follow, 5-star review if the platform so allows. Join our Discord. We're very active in there right now, talking about well, it's mostly just still Sean and Tamsy slinging mud at each other, but also this podcast has been known to talk about a lot of things in the past. We made a concerted effort this year to stick mostly to football, to English football specifically, and occasionally there are some comments about certain things. And even though Brad's not here this week, he would like me to let everyone know that Formula One kicks off this week. We've got the opening race in Bahrain. The 2024 season kicks off, and we have a Red Card Radio Media, RCR Media Formula One fantasy group going on right now. You can, I think you have to have your picks in probably, I think it's like 3.5 days, 2 days from when you guys are hearing this. I think it's like Friday or something. The race is on Saturday. I don't really know when the deadline is, but Brad would say you should join that. There is a link in our Discord in the Formula One channel if that would be interesting to you. You can see who I picked in my team on Saturday. And I don't know if Sean, have you got your team in yet?
Yeah, yeah. I've got mine in. And I've got it selected, and
Locked in.
I'm locked in, ready to
All
go.
right. All right. So this week we've got the EFL Cup. We're gonna start with the EFL Cup. Get that out of the way. So Liverpool beat Chelsea 1-0 in extra time. For those who are wondering, and if you want a sneak preview for tomorrow, literally everyone picked Liverpool to win this match except for Brad. So Brad was the only person who made picks this week across all of the people on the podcast, and then also our friends who respond to us on YouTube and in the Discord. Brad was the only person who picked Chelsea. Now, this game was not without controversy. There was a disallowed goal in the second half for Liverpool for an offside pick, essentially. It was a free kick, and Liverpool had a player starting in an offside position. They blocked off a defender, and that defender, in theory, could have made a play on the ball, and so it was disallowed. But then Liverpool get the winner in the it was like 117th minute. It was the 27th minute of second half extra time. So it was like basically the end of the game. There's nothing left to do after that. Great header from Van Dijk.
It seemed a little free, like it was poorly defended. But
Yes, yeah.
yes, well, when you get those opportunities, top class defenders close those.
Yeah.
So you leave it for him, he's going to make it.
Like
So.
Gabriel scoring headers and all day. So
Speaking of the other controversy, how about now? Follow me, if you will, down this path.
I'm with you.
Have you replaced Moises Caicedo,
Okay.
with Christian Romero?
Okay, interesting defender for midfielder. I got you.
How many levels up in the Tower of London is Romero shackled?
Yeah, he's not going up, bro. He's going down. They're putting him. They're
Down
putting
into
him
the basement.
beneath the tower rope.
Am I
But
wrong? Like you have been well documented as a
yep,
Romero hater, and
oh,
s- you are a hater on him,
I
and you
think
say that he needs to be suspended until the cows come home for all of his raunchy behavior on the pitch.
I think
But
I
do
think the only
you agree with this?
But the only I will defend myself against Romero. I think you're a Christian Romero apologist, and that I am truthful in my claim that Romero should be yellow carded more than he is. But to answer your specific question about Caicedo, yeah, Caicedo, if he was Romero, Romero would have been
Stomped.
in irons. He would have been sent to a penal colony in
He may have been
Australia.
arrested.
Yeah, like it was so to elucidate more, if you guys didn't see it, what happened, Caicedo and I think it was Gravenbach,
Yeah,
essentially Caicedo
just late to the ball.
just ends up stamping on the side of his ankle. So it's Gravenbach's foot, and then
Coming in kind of
yep,
almost falling.
yep,
So it's almost parallel to the ground.
and then Caicedo just kind of steps on it and stamps on it, and it's not yellow carded on the field. It's not investigated by VAR. It's just play on. And now Gravenbach's probably got broken ankle or something. It was a really bad challenge in this day and age in English football, because we look at the context around other challenges, specifically the Christian Romero against Enzo Fernandez in the Chelsea Tottenham game. Like, was what Romero did in that game worse than what Caicedo did in the League Cup final? I don't think so.
I would say it's I would
And I
say it's exceedingly less worse because
yes,
he didn't mean to. He's following through on kicking a ball that he actually got to first.
yeah.
He
So
kicked the ball first, which makes it even more accidental.
yeah, so that was quite questionable. The
I just wanted to be consistent.
yeah,
Like if Romero's offense is a red, just call it a red everywhere.
and I mean we've seen really varying levels of calls in terms of like dangerous play and things like that. The Premier League has been specifically very harsh in certain positions, and
McGuire
maybe
McGuire had one this
well,
weekend.
yeah, you that's one thing you're gonna bring up here in a second. Maybe it may be because it's the EFL Cup and not the Premier League. I'm maybe trying to be charitable here, and that like that's why it was different, perhaps. But yeah, it was bad.
I do agree to an extent that you want to give the benefit of the doubt in the cup final, that you want to try to not pull out the red as much as you're gonna hold it as long as you possibly
But not a
can.
yellow card. Like
That's
what
yeah,
the ref is saying is it's not.
yeah.
There's no problem with this essentially,
Yeah.
and it seems like there's a
That's the
problem.
problem. Yeah.
Now, my point about the refereeing in this game in the offside pick blocking off call for the first Liverpool goal that was disallowed. First I need to defend Arsenal because a lot of people, maybe mostly Jamie Carragher, was out on Twitter today talking about how Arsenal set up all of their free kicks with players in the offside position and they never get called for it. Well, there's context is important because before the ball is kicked, all of the Arsenal players are back on side. Endo never made an attempt to get back on side. But in defense of Endo, or maybe not necessarily in defense of Endo, if this is the call that we're going to be making, if that VAR is going to be relitigating for the rest of the year, then they're going to have to be consistent. If this is the only time we see the player in an offside position blocking off a defender called back, called back as offside. If this is the only time we see it, I'm gonna have a hard time believing it wasn't just like referee bias trying to stop Liverpool from winning the cup. That I mean, and maybe that's pretty conspiratorial of me, and I understand that, but it doesn't seem like they've been making this call, and it kind of seemed
So
it's probably by the letter of the law and by the spirit. It was probably blocking off. He was in offside position, so he impacted the play. But it just seemed like that's not a call that we've been seeing all year.
it also makes it extremely curious that you can block off a defender and have a goal called back, but when you're playing against Tottenham and you block off the goalkeeper, that's completely legal.
Well, the thing is, they didn't call it. It wasn't a foul. They didn't call it a foul. They said that Endo being in offside position influenced the play. Therefore, an offside occurred. And so it wasn't. They weren't saying it was a
So being
foul.
offside is the part that made it.
Exactly. If Endo
Oh,
wasn't offside and he was blocking off, they wouldn't have been able to. I mean, they would have been able to go back and VAR it and say there was a foul off the ball, in the lead up to a goal, and maybe they would have. That would have been the more interesting thing. That really would have been the more interesting thing. They kind of used the lowest hanging fruit to defend themselves or to make their call. But it is what
this,
it is.
this this brings me to like a big, grandiose problem that I'll try to make it very quickly because it's
Yeah.
the same problem. It's the same problem in the MLB and the NFL that they have in the FA right now. Is that you have put by your own design, put rules and parameters on what you can and can't review.
Yeah.
What? Oh, because we don't want to slow the game down too much. You have already put into play a clear and obvious error can be reviewed. You've already put that grammar in there. So just open it up to everything. If there's a clear and obvious error, it's not going to be every 4 minutes that something's getting reviewed, only when there's a clear and obvious error.
I
You've
mean,
already safeguarded yourself.
to be fair, college football in America, they relitigate a lot more things than the professional sports. And
Yeah.
it's not really much of a slowdown in the college sports. It's fairly efficient. So if you want to have a video referee like looking at things and being more
And they
strict
have
about
the headset. Just be like, hey, you missed something there. Go back.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't want to see games be re-refereed from the video booth, but yeah, it's just we
But
need
the
to
verbiage is clear and obvious error. Not any old error you
yeah.
made. It's a clear and obvious error.
The
Is what it's supposed to be.
the bigger issue is that the referees are crap, and
Yeah.
they have the same referees who are crap on the pitch, being the VARs in the booth, and they're all friends and they want to defend each other. So it's
And give
just
them yellow. Give them yellow power too. Like, why do we have parameters on just? You could only call the guy over if it's a red only. What? No.
I don't
If Caicedo stomped the guy and you thought it should have been a yellow, he's a referee too. He plays on. He's running around the pitch next weekend.
yeah,
Like
I mean, it
he
should have been a
knows
red. Should have been a red.
it should have been a red. But like, hey, you missed something here. Check it out.
I had okay. I want to turn this conversation slightly towards Chelsea really quick before we move on to the
Yeah.
Premier League. Um, they did not seem like they were super interested in extra time to go after this game. It seemed, and then of course Poch came out after the game and was like, "Yeah, just based on the way the game was, and this is not a direct quote. This is my retelling of it, but you know, the kind of the feeling of the game was that the players wanted to play for penalties, and so Chelsea, who by all accounts at the end of the game were the more likely to score. Conor Gallagher had like 3 or 4 chances right at the death of normal time, and then they just come out into the into extra time and they're just super flat. So it didn't seem like they tried to win the game. It seemed like they tried not to lose the game, which then of course caused them to lose the game. Um, is this a failure in management? Is this the players? I don't know where to ascribe blame, and this is where I wish Brad was able to join us this week. Was that we could I'd love to hear what like his feelings are. Like, where do you ascribe blame? Do you not care? It's the League Cup. It's the first year. Like, obviously, winning a cup would be nice, but we lost to Liverpool. Like, or is it like, yeah, no, there's some serious issues here. Are there issues in the squad with the players, or is it the manager? Like, what's up at Chelsea? They're 11th in the Premier League right now. 11th. Um, and they made a cup final, but like, what's like? I just don't. There's something wrong at Chelsea, and I don't mind, but like, as a co-host of a podcast, it's important to ask these questions.
I I I can tell you that Mauricio Pochettino is doing exactly what he did at Tottenham in 2014-15, which is before our good run of form, just playing the kids and coaching them the best he can. So the fact that they made it to a final before Tottenham would have, okay, you can make your jokes there, but maybe they weren't ready yet. Maybe the squad wasn't ready yet. And yeah, they played kids at Liverpool, but those kids are Those kids are good. Like they're not.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not like they're. It's not like they're playing a couple of kids that were playing in the parking lot.
well,
Like
some of them had not a lot of experience. Some of them were like their second senior appearance. So like a lot of them were like less than 20 senior appearances. So
they also lost the game on a header by a 30-year-old,
yeah, yeah,
like world class athlete.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
Virgil van Dijk scored the goal. It's not like a kid scored on. But anyways, that's getting in the weeds. We don't need to get into. But he's playing the kids. He's building them up, and if this is going to be a project, you've got to let the project build. Otherwise, you're just starting over and over and over and over, and that's going to leave them 11th longer than if they just let the process play itself out.
Do you think that this is a project and that they're going to give Pochettino the time that they need at Chelsea?
No, because that's not what Chelsea does.
Yeah. It seems to me that if the owners wanted to really send a message, because so at the end of the season, Pochettino will only have 12 months left on his contract. If the owners were really serious about Pochettino being their man, they would extend his contract now and say,
Yeah.
we're not waiting to the end of the season. We understand we're in a precarious position. We didn't win the cup. We're sad about that. We're not where we want to be in the league, but Pochettino is moving us in the right direction. We're gonna add on to his contract. We're gonna extend his contract, and that would settle a lot of this uncertainty. But they haven't, and them not settling the uncertainty for me seems like they're going to settle it in the Pochettino won't be the coach next year, but we will see. So get your thoughts in about the League Cup final. It's February, and we've already crowned the first champion of something in England. So congrats to Liverpool. Turning our attention to the Premier League, there was a lot of chalk in terms of the results. Liverpool won on Wednesday, and then City won at the weekend, and Arsenal won at the weekend. Now, kind of thinking about that Arsenal match, Arsenal beat Newcastle 4-1 at home. And this is the same Newcastle that beat Arsenal 1-0 at St. James's Park. So in, the Newcastle that, a lot of people have been pretty high on over the last 18 months. Now, to be fair, Newcastle have a lot of injuries. But this is the, I think, sixth consecutive victory for Arsenal in the Premier League. So this is I don't want to say it was a statement win because we were expected to win it in a regard, but it was a difficult match against a difficult opponent, and Arsenal definitely handled their business.
Now, I do have a really good question for you.
Okay.
You have now won 6-0 in a row,
Okay.
5-0,
Okay.
and 4-1.
Yeah.
Why are Arsenal bad, and why is their form trending in the wrong direction?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Sheffield United, we got them at the weekend, so we're only going to score 3, and they might score 2 against us.
Trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, we never know. And then I think City after that, or like City, they're soon.
There you go. Yeah. You got to win that thing, man.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. We have to.
You have to.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
We can't let Baldy keep getting away with this, man.
Yeah, and we can't let Klopp have a farewell tour, right? So Arsenal just need to win it all, right? I'm glad that we agree on that, Sean.
You'd lose to Sheffield and beat City. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
No, I'm not down with that. No, I mean, like it was pretty. I don't want to say it was straightforward, but I think we definitely dominated the game. There was a certain point where I was watching the game with my father, and there was a certain point where Newcastle were trying to get out of their own half, and they were passing the ball around. They passed the ball up to Isak, and Isak receives the ball in his defensive third, and he's being pressed by William Saliba in his defensive third. So we've got our center back like 2/3 of the way up the pitch, pressing their number 9 2/3 of the way up the pitch, and then Saliba gets the ball off him, and it's just like, yeah, this is one of those days for Newcastle. They had some opportunities. Obviously, they scored a goal, but we smothered them for a large portion of that match.
That's how it felt with our new style is play just the same as I guess Newcastle's and yours, but like playing out of the back and like building it up and high pressing and all that stuff. And when we played City in the FA Cup, that's the way it felt. Is they're passing it around the back, and Foden and like all those Bernardo, they're all just up there. And I'm like, think I texted the group. We're playing a very
Yeah.
dangerous game right now, where anyone and it, yeah, but that's how Newcastle fans probably felt. Is this is a dangerous game we're playing if we can't break this press somehow.
Yeah. So I guess big news that came out that we haven't even talked about is this Everton point deduction has gotten reduced to only 6 points. So Everton picked up 4 points this weekend, 5 points actually because they drew. So they drew one match and picked up 5 points this weekend. It's a good weekend for Everton.
It's it's immeasurably negligent by the FA. Like, why can't you just make a decision and stick to it?
Well, it's the appeal process at this point, right? So
Okay,
Everton.
well, then figure it out quicker. Like, what are we doing here? Because you've got Brentford, Forest, and Luton Town that think they're competing with someone right around them, and all of a sudden you just give them 5 points.
Yeah, it's
And now they're behind all of them. Like, what are we doing with this? Just figure it out. Also, it's freaking the end of February. Like, these charges were brought up in August.
Yeah, and so this is. It seems to me that they should have had your initial ruling and done all of your appeal process, and it had been finalized before anything was announced. And that like everything was done behind closed doors before. And now the problem is you can't really keep it all closed behind closed doors because once a like a fine, essentially I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Like obviously like a punishment was rendered against Everton. It's not like that's not going to get out. So I don't. Yeah, it is weird. Because you've been predicting for the last many weeks now that Brentford are going to get relegated.
They are.
And they're doing their they're doing their honest best at doing it. But they've now Everton just pick up 5 points, and it's just weird.
Brentford just got smoked yesterday by West Ham.
Yeah, and
So
so the relegation situation is looking very interesting. It kind of seems foregone conclusion that Burnley and Sheffield will be relegated. They're sitting at 13 points apiece, and they don't seem like there's any points out there for them. Interestingly enough, they both have 3 wins, 3 draws, and 19 losses. So they're both the same on there. Goal difference is different, but Luton Town are the one that are kind of still alive. They've one less game than everyone else around them, and so if they win their game in hand, they're at 23 points. It still keeps them in the relegation zone, but it only puts them 1 point behind Nottingham Forest, 2 points behind Brentford and Everton, and only like 5 points behind Bournemouth. So Everton could get dragged back in. Brentford definitely could get dragged back in, get dragged down there. Nottingham Forest are obviously vulnerable if Luton Town win their game. And I think Luton Town's game in hand is against Bournemouth. If I'm not,
it's Bournemouth, yeah.
Because that was the game where the captain for Tom
Lockyer,
thank you, had his heart issue. Have you seen his new pacemaker? Did you see that video that came out last week?
Crazy.
It's huge. Crazy. Yeah, it's enormous.
Yeah. What happens if he gets barged into? Like that's what
someone said.
Scary.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll see him on the pitch again. Maybe his career is over, but his life is not. So that's the important part.
That is true.
Yeah, so I think that's all we got. The other big one that we didn't get to that I wanted to talk about was Fulham. We spent a little bit too much time on the EFL. We'll talk about it real quick. Fulham,
last second
winner against Manchester United at Old Trafford, and I do have to eat a little bit of crow here because I've been saying for weeks that United are good. They're better than everyone gives them credit for. And then you go to lose to Fulham at home.
Yeah,
and maybe I should own this even more is that it was Arsenal legend Alex Iwobi
which I just found out, loyal listeners. I just found out yesterday Alex Iwobi played for Fulham. I had no idea. I thought he was still in Everton.
Nope. So Iwobi, it was a good weekend for Haaland. Joe Willock scored for Newcastle. Saka scored for Arsenal. Lots of Hale End products out on the pitch in the Premier League this weekend, doing big things. And I say that mostly to annoy you, Sean. But
All of the products you just gave away because you're trash organizations
to
and you don't.
to be fair, Alex Iwobi had a lot of he featured a lot for Arsenal. He's just much older than the other ones that I named. Joe Willock featured less for Arsenal, but he did play some for Arsenal before he moved on. So, all right. Excuse me. So yeah, that's what we got for you guys. Check back tomorrow. We will be having the we're gonna do our pick'ems, picking winners and losers for match week 27. And you'll get to see who fared well last weekend and where everyone stands in the point table. So drop your comment down below about this one. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Hit us up on Twitter. That guy with me he is at whiteheart_Sean. I am at James Tiffany. Collectively, we can all be reached at redcard_radio. And we will be back later this week with more football talk, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a good one.